Hey everyone, it's August 1st, about 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the Bitfinex exchange. So first of all, the video is on investment advice. Second of all, the way I left off the last video was I did think we were going to produce, or at least try to produce, a higher high over this area, just like we did from the 6,400 bottom, because the whole beginning of this process played out almost to the T as the 6,400 bottom. I did take that trade from down here. I wrote it up, and then I sold out right here before we got that spike due to the swings. But I did think, again, we were going to produce that move. But as I said multiple times in my videos, you had to exercise caution because this was a move more than likely that manipulated, and because it worked out to where the moves were occurring within the same 4-hour period as prior moves, and everything had its footprints, and you just had to search for them. And if you searched for them, you found them, and you knew exactly what was going to happen in this market. Now, the only thing that changed, again, I talked about how the volume kept coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out, and the move was running on much less volume than prior moves in Bitcoin. And basically, the market could not sustain itself anymore. Whoever is propping the market up just does not have enough firepower to push it yet once again. So the only hope that there is for Bitcoin is that there's another reversal in price from this zone. But what I've seen in the past, and I'll look at it, by the time Bitcoin starts making it back to the original base, it's already too late for the market. The market has already lost too much to recover. So if history unfolds the way it has in the past, Bitcoin is already at a level to where more than likely it's going to keep progressing downward. Now, one thing I talk about in all of my videos is the mainstream media is the great deceiver. And I think this is honestly in all aspects of life. But for investing purposes, the mainstream media is the great deceiver. They are going to deceive you as much as they possibly can because you are the fresh blood for the slaughter that is going to occur in all markets, right? Once they start hyping something up, that is pretty much the time that red flags need to shoot up in your head, and you need to say, you know what, I'm not going to become a human sacrifice. And that is exactly what they were doing. I don't know if I should really label any. I imagine my videos are going to get deleted if I start talking about specific sources, but big financial sources were really hyping up some crazy numbers in this market. So it's not guaranteed the market is going to dive bomb, but I do think that Bitcoin is at a very critical point to where if it does not reverse from this area and eclipse this high, which is right around maybe 8,500 or so, then the next move for Bitcoin is just a continuation. Of course, it's not going to happen in a straight line. It never does. This isn't a straight line. This is not a straight line. No move down is a straight line. No move up is a straight line. When things start to get in a straight line, you need to start to worry because the pendulum will swing from one side to the other side. But again, the only thing I cautioned people was that the move was playing out identically. There's obviously massive manipulation in this market. It is the only reason I believe the market is surviving at the levels it is at. I think the market would have naturally found a deeper bottom than where the 6,000 bottom was, where the 6,400 bottom was, and where the 5,750 bottom was if it was not for the manipulation in this market. And I don't know where the true bottom is, but what I can tell everyone is that if we do continue to progress downward and we do the same move like we did here and like we did here, I think there's a very high probability we break to a new low. If we stop above that new low, then maybe the market turns back yet once again, but that move will just be a manipulated move the same way this was. And then eventually we broke the 6,000 bottom. So basically we're either hopscotching or the market is just going to completely tank and then test the lower 5,000 area. So, again, I'm not trying to I just, a lot of people made a lot of ignorant comments, and I don't mean that like in a condescending way, but again, this market, there are people that talk as if it is guaranteed for this market to go up. And I said I've never seen that in an entire market my entire life. On top of that, when the mainstream media is hyping stuff up and people are coming out with ridiculous figures on social media, articles, and through the mainstream media outlets as well, where we're talking about crazy figures, and Bitcoin is barely even crawling. And then not only that, but the whole internals of the market, the altcoins, are just completely deteriorating. Like they just got jump kicked off a cliff. I mean, Litecoin, Ethereum, they're both hovering right now. Two of the second and the third biggest coins just about they're very close to the new low that they produced for this year. Very, very bad sign. So if Bitcoin cannot turn this market around as a whole, then guess what? It's going to follow suit with the rest of the market. And where are Litecoin and Ethereum and the rest of them? They're all down here. They're all just hovering in this area. So where does that put Bitcoin if Bitcoin cannot somehow turn this market around? It's going to put Bitcoin down here, if not lower. I do think if we head into that zone, there's a high probability we are going to move significantly lower. It's just going to be a long, drug out process. And again, the warning was there every single time. Every single video I talked about, short-term bullish, long-term bearish, have an investment strategy, protect yourself. There's a lot of writing on the wall. I'm not going to put the nail in the coffin quite yet, but I do believe that nail is already pre-hammered and just needs to be hit a couple more times before this fate of Bitcoin is sealed, and meaning that it's going to drop down to retest the 5750 area. Whether we break through that or not is a whole nother analysis. So again, go back through my videos. I do not mean to talk about this market from a bearish perspective, but it's all this market knows. This market only knows manipulation, and beyond the manipulation, once they start to lose control, it just unravels. And when it unravels, it's just as brutal as the move up, which, it's just the emerald tablet. It's as above, so below. The pendulum is going to swing from left to right. And the moves are typically going to be the same, if not greater, depending on what happens. There's a lot of different factors. One of the biggest factors is the great deceiver, which is the mainstream media, which can prolong things up or down and can cause the exacerbation of the swing due to bringing in that fresh blood. So that is why I talk so poorly of the mainstream media. And I honestly, I'm just dumbfounded that anyone could find it as a reliable resource. And that is not a condescending comment. That is just the reality of what I've experienced from over 10 years of doing this, or just about 10 years of doing this now. And everyone I've ever learned from, anyone that had any significant size portfolio that they were managing, talking about billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, not a single one of them ever referenced a mainstream media source. So I know I'm crapping all over them, but I do it to protect people, because otherwise you're going to become a sheep led to the slaughter. And I used to do it too. As a stockbroker, I used to watch, some mainstream media sources, visit the sites every single day. As an investment advisor, I did that as I started to move into my career. And I quickly realized that those channels needed to be muted. And they were only on just to make it seem like you were in the know. Which you definitely were not in the know. But anyways, I don't mean to drag the process or drag this video out longer than it needs to be. I talked about the zones. I talked about the overall sentiment. I got a lot of crap for it, a lot of dislikes. But if you go back to the videos, there's no one that can say that I was not warning this was a potential outcome, or it was the potential out, or it was the outcome for Bitcoin. The question was when was it going to occur? I did not think it was going to occur this early, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I called this to the T perfectly and I got in my short, because I did not. I missed a short opportunity, although I will be hunting for one depending on what happens at this level. Again, if Bitcoin does not make a very powerful move, I will look to get short on Bitcoin yet once again, and I will ride the sled all the way back down the hill after riding it up the hill. So again, I think that kind of puts it out there. My videos, I said I was short-term bullish, long-term bearish, and now we're in that bearish zone. That short-term bullishness is definitely eroding unless we get a magnificent turnaround. I mean, we need a miracle right now at this level for Bitcoin. Not only that, but that miracle needs to transfer into the internals, which when I say internals, I'm referring to the altcoins in this asset class. So I hope everybody has a great day, great night, depending on where you are in the world. If you do like the videos, please like, comment, subscribe, follow. I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate even the haters, the people that are commenting. Just because you disagree with me, don't worry. Like, I'm not offended with it. I'm not trying to talk in a condescending tone to anyone. The only thing I'm trying to do is just share everything I've learned. And believe me, it's a hell of a process to go through every single day when you're trying to trade, you're trying to find investments, you're trying to use sources like the mainstream media to give you that confidence, to give you that green light, that red light. But I'm just trying to kind of speed everyone through all of my downfalls. So when I talk about something in a condescending tone, it's because I've burned my hand so many times on that burner that I'm just trying to say, keep your damn hand away from it. And if you put your hand on it, you're going to get burned. And lo and behold, it ends up working out, that exact way, because I've been there so many times. And I think anyone that's traded for a long time, I think that's one of the problems that you see in this market. Not to go off on a tangent this late in the video, but one of the problems you see are people that are not traders talking about markets, and they're coming up with these crazy figures. They're coming up with these crazy, like 20,000, 30, 40, 50,000. These are people that more than likely have not traded a day in their life, and they're just doing it to attract followers. Or if they did trade, maybe they got lucky. Maybe they caught it early, and maybe they were a long-term holder and they made some money and they sold, and they really didn't know why it all unfolded. They just jumped into something they thought was going to work out. It worked out, and now they're trying to talk like they know exactly how to read charts. And it's two different markets. It's just two different things. It's like apples and oranges here. And the one thing I keep reiterating to everybody is that this chart is showing you. It's showing you the flow of energy is down, and it has been since the bubble top between buyers and sellers. They're showing you what is happening in this market. The moves are elongated. The moves are getting smaller and smaller. It's not a good sign for Bitcoin. It means the market is flattening out. One day, will it be good? Of course. I do think it could build out a base as long as it survives. It survived long enough to where I do think it's going to be very hard, even if the powers that be, which I mean the banking cartel, if they wanted to absolutely decimate and destroy Bitcoin, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for them. Extremely difficult. It's going to be like Braveheart over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I want to see the demise of the market. It's just this market is telling you, the chart is telling you it's going down. And we have a lot of people out there that are trying to attract new likes, subscribers, or whatever through social media, articles, and so forth. And they're talking out of their rear, and people are buying into it, and people are losing tons of money. And I get comments like it all the time. It's typically through email because no one wants to publicly admit to it. And that is the reason on why I talk the way I do in these videos, because it pisses me off to no freaking end that there are people out there that I know have no idea, right? Maybe they've got lucky a couple times when they were back here. A lot of their subscribers were following them as they were calling a bubble, right? It's going to go up. It's going to go up. Ridiculous figure, And it all became like this, like, gigantic ego stroke to them. And now they are doing the same thing again, hoping there's a duplication to retain those subscribers and everything else, whether it's social media or those specific websites that are writing those articles and slanting them to these extreme bullish, anyways, it just they're slanting the articles extremely bullish is what I was trying to say, and it's not working anymore. It's not, and they keep hyping people up and hyping people up, and I guarantee you at the end of the day, those viewers are leaving, those subscribers are leaving, and they're looking elsewhere. And my analysis, I always try to keep it as level-headed as possible. It's not always going to be right, nor do I ever expect it to always be right. Otherwise, I'd be literally a trillionaire rolling in so much money, it'd be insane. But I try to lay it out as best as I can from from the years and years and years that I've learned, and some of it's going to be rather harsh the way that I say things, but it's only because I'm trying to drive a point home. It's not that I think I'm better than anyone watching these videos. All I'm trying to do is just kind of be that balance to the wild and crazy sentiment that is out there. So I did not mean to go off on a tangent. Don't know how many people hung in for another 5 minutes of me rambling, but hopefully that kind of explains all of this. Again, if we do not get a miracle turnaround in Bitcoin, it's heading down, and it's not going to be a pretty sight. I mean, imagine not only are we trading on lower volume, but people got hyped up yet once again. And this is now the third iteration. How much harder is it going to be to hype people up a fourth time, a fifth time? Think about it. Like if you started scamming people, how many times do you think you could scam people before they, even if you had like a friend that honestly had an IQ lower than a jar of mayonnaise, how many times do you think it would take before they were like, oh, okay, I get what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're kind of reaching that level now to where, and I don't mean that as I'm talking about like everyone who bought into this was an idiot, right? There's money to be made in the market. But the thing is that if we keep seeing this repetition of pattern, how long is it going to take before even those people who are trying to hunt the money moves are going to say, you know what, just forget this market, and the market is going to flatten out even more than it already has. And that is kind of what I'm anticipating, is a flattening out in this market, and that's why we see these moves. So do not mean to push the video to this length, but again, I understand the way that I talk about things. I'm not so I can seem somewhat emotionless, and I can seem like, lack of better words, an ass when I say things, but there's a strong reasoning behind it, and I just do not want to see people get screwed any more than a lot of people have already. And I've talked with people that have bought positions in here, lots of positions in here. I know people that have dumped their entire retirement savings in this area because they bought into everything. So when I talk a certain way, there's a big reason on why I do. So again, sorry for making a 17-minute video. Hope everybody has a great day, great night. If you want to learn more about my subscription service, you can check out my site, geometriccharts.com. I'm signing out.